Okay, you're back, or you're just starting because you did the first page on your own. Either way, this is the Unit 1 practice test, and this is the second page, 5 through 8. Okay. So number 5 says solve the following for y. Okay. Now I'm going to highlight the question. That way I know that's exactly what I'm looking at. Okay. Now on this one, this is a little different. I want to solve for y, okay? And I have x and y, so I want to solve for y. So I have to move 5x, and I have to move negative 6, okay? This is a literal equation. So don't forget, anything with more than one variable can technically be called literal equation. So I just want to solve for y. So if I need to move two things, remember I always start with the other side of the equation, so I have 18. And I work my way backwards towards the letter I need. Okay, so here's 18. Now this is 5x. Okay, there's no sign, so it's a positive. So if I want to move that first, I'm going to subtract 5x. So 5x here, when it moves, becomes minus 5x. Okay. And negative 6y. So because it's negative 6 times y, the opposite of times is divide. So I'm going to divide both by negative 6. And then, of course, since I'm done with that, I have y equals. Now, I will tell you, I'm pretty sure this is a multiple choice option. So you can't leave your answer like this because the choices will not look like that. You need to simplify. Simplify the fractions, reduce the fractions, do what you can to get the numbers smaller, and make sure the signs are all correct, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and write y equals, and I'm going to look at this one first. So I do 18 divided by negative 6. That gives me negative 3. And then look, if I have two negatives, I know it's a positive or plus. And then can I divide 5 by 6? No, you can't divide it. You cannot reduce it. So that just stays 5 over 6. And then I write the x next to it. Okay. So let's say this were a multiple choice option on the test, which I think it is. Once I move all my stuff, so I move my letters that I don't need, I divide by the number I don't need, I reduce my stuff here, right? I have two things. The order of this, if there, say there's 3 or 4 things and it's all plus or minus, the order doesn't necessarily matter. It's all about the correct numbers and the correct sign, the positive, negative. Okay, so this could be my answer. You could also write it as y equals, I could flip these, okay, as long as I have a positive 5 over 6x, and then just do minus 3 after. Notice how they look kind of different, just they're in different order, but it's the exact same thing. Okay, and if I had a third one, you could change up the order like a few more times. If you had a fourth one, you could change it up more than that. But I will say on the test, this is as complicated as this question is, so you only have 2 letters to worry about. Just know that I can write this answer in 2 ways, and either one is correct. Okay? So no matter which way you write it, it really doesn't make a difference as long as you know, if you're looking at answer choices, don't go off of it has to be the same order because it does not. So I'm just going to write the first one. So negative 3 plus 5 over 6x. Okay, either one is correct. I can have both. Okay, so that's number 5. And again, that's as complicated as that one gets. You'll be given 2 letters that have some numbers, maybe, maybe not, and you just solve for a letter. Okay, so let's go on to number 6. What is the solution set for? Okay, again, just a different way to write it, but it just means solve. Okay, so I'm solving this inequality. I know it's an inequality because I have this inequality symbol right in the middle. It's not an equal sign anymore, nor is the camera in focus. Ugh. Okay. Awesome. All right, so I'm going to solve this the same as I would for an equation. Remember, you distribute if you have parentheses, which looking on here, I do not. And I cannot combine like terms because they're on different sides. So I can jump right towards the end and just move all my x's to one side, move my numbers to the other side, and then divide if I have a number with x. Okay. And again, this is why, so I'm moving my x's to the same side. I always move the smallest x, and the reason why is for inequalities. Then I don't end up with a negative x, so I don't have to remember to flip the sign when I divide at the end. Okay, so looking at these, negative 20 and negative 13, remember negatives are just backwards, so negative 20 is actually smaller. And because it's negative, now I'm going to do positive or plus. It's the same thing. So I'm going to move my negative 20 over. That's become 0. I write or bring down my 18. My symbol does not change. I have 39. And now I have 20 minus 13. Well, that's a positive 7x. So notice now my x is positive, so I don't have to worry about dividing by a negative later and forgetting or having to remember to flip the sign. Okay, all my x's are on one side. Now I want to move my numbers to the other. So positive 39 becomes negative or minus 39. That's 0. So you do 18 minus 39. You get negative 21. My sign has not changed, and I still have 7x. All right. Last up, just the same as the equations, I divide by 7. And so negative 21 divided by 7 is negative 3. Because my bottom number is not negative, I didn't divide by a negative, so my sign stays the same, and my x also stays over here. Now again, if this was a multiple choice question, I think this one might be. I can't remember which ones are, which ones are not. So let's say it's multiple choice. If my answer doesn't look just like this, don't think you did it wrong. Just do the whole mirror thing that we've done. So let's mirror all of this. Face it the other way. So look, each answer is correct. They just look different. So it's kind of like the last one. I can write it two different ways. And so if you need to, write it both ways and then find one of them in the answer choices. That is your answer. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and just write the first one because it really doesn't make a difference as far as the actual answer. They're both correct. Just make sure if you look for answer choices, it may not look the first way, it may look the second way, or if you get the second way, they may flip it and put it on the right. You don't know. Okay, so just be careful on that and just pay attention. All right, number 7. Which inequality describes all the solutions to that? Okay, again, it's just another way to say solve for x. That's it. We're just trying to show you all the ways that you could see this, okay? So on this one, now I have parentheses, so now I have to distribute. So I'm going to do 2 times negative 12x. You get negative 24x. 2 times negative 3, negative 6. And my symbol didn't change, and none of this has changed, okay? All right, I cannot combine like terms. They're on different sides, so I'm going to move all my x's to the same side, move all my numbers to the other side. My smallest x is the negative 24, so I'm going to do plus 24x on both sides. And that's 0. I bring down my negative 6, bring down my sign. 24 minus 11 is 13x. Bring down my plus 59. Okay. Now from here, I have all my x's on one side, so I have to have all my numbers on the other side. So I got to move this number. Because it's plus, I do minus. So I have negative 59, or negative 6, sorry, minus 59. You get negative 65. My sign didn't change, my x didn't change, right? And then of course the last step, because I have a number with x, you want to divide by that number. And look, my number on the bottom is not negative, So I did not divide by a negative, therefore my sign will not change. Okay, the top number does not matter. It's always the bottom. So negative 65 divided by 13 is negative 5. So look, I'm going to keep it on the same side. So this number right here is negative 5, my sign, and my x. And again, because see how x is on the right? If that's an answer choice, great. That's my answer choice, as long as everything else matches. If I write this down and I don't see an answer that looks just like that, I can mirror this, right? And it would just go the other way. So either way is correct. Just know how to look for it on the test. So I'm going to write it the first way up here just because it doesn't matter which way you write it, because they're both the same answer. And now we go to the last one, number 8. Number 8, a worked out solution is shown below for, and then it gives you this equation right here. I don't know why it keeps doing that. All right. So it gives me a bunch of steps, right? Step 1, 2, 3, 4, which has the first incorrect mathematical process. Okay. So which step did they make the first mistake? Now, I did this on the review. I'm going to tell you to do the same thing on the test. Always start with the question first up here, and I'm just going to start working it out right below, and then match my steps or my answers with each answer over here and figure out where the first mistake was made. Okay, so I'm going to work this out. I noticed some people on the review were skipping the problem and going right from here to step 2 to step 3 and so on. And so they didn't even check, did they make a mistake from the problem to step 1. They just started at step 1. Okay, so just be careful with that. Make sure you start at the problem and work all the way through. So look, if I were to work this out, I'm going to distribute because I have 2 parentheses. So I have negative 7 times 6x, negative 42x, negative 7 times negative 8 plus 56. 8 times 4 is 32x, and then 8 times 1 is 8 equals negative 6. All right, so now I can check. And again, because it's pluses, a bunch of pluses, the order doesn't necessarily matter. So if they wrote it in a different order, but the numbers are right, it's still fine. So look, I have negative 42x, 56, 32, 8, negative 6. Okay, so this step is good. Okay, they did not make a mistake. So now I'm going to keep going. My next step is I would combine like terms. So I have 2 x's and I have 2 numbers. So I'm going to do negative 42x plus 32x. You get negative 10x. And then 56 plus 8 is 64 equals negative 6. Okay, now let's check. We have negative 10x plus 64 equals negative 6. Unless I've made a mistake, they have not made one yet. So that one's good. All right, I'm going to do the next one. So all my x's are already on the same side, so all my numbers need to get moved to the other side, away from x. So plus 64 becomes minus. I'm going to bring down, I have negative 10x equals negative 6 minus 64. You get negative 70. Okay, let's look at that. Oh, look, I have negative 10x, but look, 58, negative 70. They made a mistake. So this is my correct answer. That is the first incorrect mathematical process, or the first thing they did wrong. Okay, so my answer here would just be step 3. Now, I don't know about the rest of it, but it doesn't matter. Once you find the first mistake, you can stop and move to the next question. It's not asking for the answer. I don't care. I'm just asking for the first mistake. Oh, and look, we're at the end of the page, so that is the end of this video.